So we just about gotten over the changes that they made with the Season 3 update to all of the weapons inside Warzone, and now they've made some more changes, and in this video we'll be breaking it all down for you and going over what are the 6 best new long-range rifles to use inside Warzone. If you do enjoy content like this and you like the speed of the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 50k subscribers. Click that link in the description down below and subscribe to our second channel. We do post extra content over there as well. But there's a lot of stuff we want to get through because they keep changing all these weapons all the time, and to be perfectly honest, they're mainly trying to force these vanguard weapons down our throats. I don't really like the vanguard weapons personally. So the first thing I want to show you is actually the patch notes, which are with today's date, May the 4th, which is today. And as you can see here, they've adjusted various different weapons. So we've got the Black Ops Cold War AK, we've got the Vanguard weapons as well. We've got the EM2, which is in here as well. We've also got the XM4 once again. They can't help but to just keep nerfing this gun for no reason whatsoever. And they've pretty much buffed every Vanguard weapon. So, and we've actually put it into our chest shot TTK spreadsheet. Now, of course, like I said, we're going to get that mix shot location TTK soon, but they keep bringing out so many changes that it's kind of hard to keep up and make sure we're trying to build other things along with it. So it makes it very difficult to keep track of everything, but I've put some small notes here which will actually give an indication of what the actual changes were. I know these numbers might be small on your screen just now, but I will zoom them in and you will find the spreadsheet linked in the description if you do want to check it out yourself as well. So first of all, when it comes to the changes that they made, so first of all, the Cold War AK was probably the hardest hitting gun before this change. And to be fair, the TTK hasn't really changed. It's just that they've made the gun less consistent overall. So you're less likely to get 800 millisecond TTK and a 900 millisecond TTK on a consistent basis if you're landing some limb shots in there. Sorry, when it comes to the EM2, there's no change to TTK when it comes to chest shots, but the headshot damage is being reduced significantly. And when I mean significantly, I mean like by 10 points to damage. So absolutely insane changes to the EM2 here. So if you land a couple of headshots, it's less likely to give you that faster TTK now, which is kind of annoying because this gun does have a lot of recoil. So it kind of rewarded you for actually using this gun, but now it doesn't. So that's the annoying thing. But the chest shot TTK is pretty much the same now. They also changed the XM4. The close range TTK was increased with this, and the headshot damage, even though they said they buffed it slightly, it was just to preserve that close range headshot damage overall. So at long range, the XM4 remains pretty much the same when it comes to chest shot TTKs, so that's a good bonus to be fair. So they never completely nerfed the shit out of this gun, so we'll need to wait and see. Automaton got buffed, so there's no real change to TTK, but when it comes to overall consistency of the weapon, they increase the damage, and that will make the gun give you that same kind of like 1000 millisecond TTK pretty much on a more regular basis. Then they buffed the Cooper Carbine, and what they did with the Cooper Carbine is basically increase the limb shot damage overall, because the chest TTK is still pretty much exactly the same, so there's no change to chest shot TTKs, but you will be getting a more consistent TTK because the limb damage is being buffed, so the gun's going to feel a lot better now. Again, they did the exact same thing with the KGM40 once again as well, so you'll just get a more consistent TTK because the limb damage is overall a little bit better now. So then we've got the Nikita AVT, which is that new assault rifle that they added in. This gun was pretty bad when they added it in the first place, so it got a long range TTK buff, and also it's more consistent with the limb shots as well, similar to the Cooper Carbine, the KGM40. Then the base damage was affected with the NZ41, and it also affects the magazine attachments as well, of course, because those affect damage too. So it still gives you a better TTK now with this new change if you use the recoil controlling mags, which is also the largest mags you get, which is the 50 round mags. So you are going to get a slightly better TTK at long range, and it was by about 100 milliseconds that change was. So pretty good change. Not going to make this a meta weapon, I don't think, because the NZ41's pretty bad. So the limb shots are made more consistent on the STG. The overall TTK for chest shots never really changed. And then when it comes to the Volk, the long range TTK got a buff, and also it was more consistent with the limb shots as well, but the close range TTK remained the same. I've now arranged the TTKs for the second damage range from best to worst, but I also do want to point out is that they did give a buff to the recoil of the AS44. Now, I'm hoping they never buffed it like crazy much, because if they did, it's going to be pretty much the go-to weapon because the TTKs are absolutely insane on this gun. but I do feel like they're trying to make it a sniper support gun, so I don't think they've increased the recoil on this a ton. Don't get me wrong, I'm not actually tested this in game yet, so if I do, I'll let you know, but I'm going to just assume that they're trying to make this a sniper support weapon. AS Val is probably not going to be a good option anyway, so I wouldn't really look at that at all. Now, as you can see, the Nikita AVT is actually one of the fastest killing long-range rifles in the game, so they basically just buffed this weapon to be the best gun in the game. Then we've got the Fara, which overall is not like the most consistent gun in the game entirely, but if you are landing those chest and headshots, you're going to get a pretty good TTK. Scar's not really that good just because of the fact that it doesn't have big enough mags. The AMAX is still going to be a solid weapon, like I said in previous videos. FFAR is not really a long-range weapon overall. C58 is probably my favorite gun to use right now, just in general. Then we've got kind of like our low recoil options, which are like the XM4, the Volk, the Cooper Carbine, M13, M4, Vargo, Grau, Automaton. And those are all kind of sitting in the same place. I do still think the Vargo is pretty much the most solid option out of this. Starting off at number 6, we do have the STG, and I do think the Vanguard weapons are now going to be pretty much the main meta when it comes to long range and probably close range as well. We all make a video covering those changes too. But we actually made sure that we included Vital on all of our testing so that you can actually get a better understanding of obviously how this works. But when it comes to the overall TTK of this weapon, now, it's not really changed too much, but that extra consistency in those limb shot damage will make this gun feel a lot better than before, and that is kind of the main change they've made overall with a lot of these weapons. So the main build for long range that is you want to use is the MX silencer for the recoil control, the damage range, the 760mm barrel, any optic you like, precision stock for the best side-to-side recoil control, Vital on hand for the better ADS, or fully loaded, polymer grip, 60 round mags, which is the main mags for this gun, lengthened, and the hand stop under barrel. At number 5, we have the Cooper Carbine. Why wouldn't we have another Vanguard rifle? Because that's what they're trying to force down us again. But I do think the Cooper Carbine is going to be one of the better options. The reason for that is because it's super low recoil, and that extra consistency in those limb shots will make this gun feel a lot better as well. It's kind of one thing it has been lacking, is that kind of limb damage. And now that it has it, I do think it's going to be a really solid weapon. So build's very similar to the STGs. So you want to use the MX silencer for the best recoil control, bullet velocity, Cooper custom barrel, which actually is the only barrel that gives you the extra damage range and the extra damage at those longer ranges. So you kind of have to use this barrel, but we already know that by now anyway. G16 or whatever optic you like, Cooper custom padded stock for the best recoil control, Vital because we need it, on hand or fully loaded once again, polymer grip, 60 round mags once again, lengthened, hand stop under barrel, and again the TTKs we showed earlier were with all these attachments. Again, at number 4, another Vanguard rifle because, and again, build's very similar here. So you want to use the MX silencer for the best recoil control and damage range. You want to use the Empress 613mm barrel. This is the one I think works best for the Nikita rifle. We've got the 2.5x optic, but you can choose whatever one you like. When it comes to the stock, the horizontal recoil control stock is going to be the best at controlling recoil for you. Perfectionist, again, is just going to help control that recoil. Brace is not as good as this one, controlling recoil for kind of like over the sustained period of time. On hand, or you could choose whatever you want there. Polymer grip once again for the sustained fire accuracy. 60 round mags because this is the one that we gave you the TTK with, but also it is the best TTK mags and it's the largest mags, especially if you're playing Caldera, which is what our TTKs are based on. Lengthened, and the hand stop under barrel. This gun got an absolutely insane buff with this recent update. Like, I mean, a ridiculous buff from like going from one of the slowest killing weapons to one of the fastest killing long range weapons. I mean, the recoil is still going to be harder to manage than maybe something like the Cooper Carbine, but the fact that it's got one of the fastest long range TTKs in the game now, it's almost a no-brainer. At number 3, we pretty much picked the weapon that had no changes with this update because pretty much every gun got nerfed or buffed in some way, but the Vargo never got touched with this update, which is very refreshing to see because it did get a slight change with the Season 3 update, which actually didn't make any changes too much to the weapon when it comes to recoil, but now it didn't get touched, so we're going to put this on the list because it's still a solid rifle, and it's probably going to be the one that I'll be using for the most part now because it's super low recoil, it's got a pretty decent TTK, and it could just hang with all these other weapons, and plus most people like Cold War guns anyway. So GRU suppressor, task force barrel, axial free time, 60 round mags, Spetsnaz grip. I don't want to waste too much time on this one. At number 2, and what a lot of people will be happy to see, is the AMAX is on this list. It's one of the fastest killing rifles in the game right now. On top of that, most people do just like Modern Warfare guns, so that's going to be helpful. The only issue with this weapon is that the bullet velocity isn't the best, but to be honest, we all expect that from the AMAX now anyway, and the mags, in my opinion, are just a little bit too small to make it the number 1 on this list. I wish it was maybe like a 55 round mag instead of a 45, and to be fair, they've been buffing mags for Vanguard rifles, but they just haven't buffed mags for Modern Warfare or Black Ops Cold War rifles. It just seems a bit weird to me, but of course that's what they're trying to do. But obviously we know the main build for this weapon, so mono suppressor, Zodiac barrel, VLK optic, 45 commando foregrip. At number 1, we have the gun that I feel is the best rifle in the game, even after the first Season 3 update, and that is the C58. Now, the Cold War AK is still a solid weapon, so if you do want to use it still, you can. I just think that the fact that the C58 has a little bit less recoil than that weapon now, and it's still just as consistent, I do think the C58 will be a little bit of a better option overall. So I do think this build right here is the best build, which is pretty much the meta build for this gun. So agency suppressor, task force barrel, axial 3x, 55 round mags, which is a great option to have, especially on Caldera, and the field agent grip. Overall, like I said, I think the C58 is going to be pretty much the meta weapon to go for at the moment. So there we have it. Those are all the changes and the new 6 best rifles inside Warzone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 50k. Click that link in the description and subscribe to our second channel. And thank you very much for watching.